Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Lowe, and I am a councillor at Mitchellshire. I've lived in the Shire for about 12 years now, and this is my first term as a councillor in Mitchellshire. I spent the first 2 years as Deputy Mayor, and now I'm having a year off just as a normal councillor. I'm also a director of the Goulburn Valley Waste and Resource Recovery operation, which I'm finding you will find probably terribly boring. I suddenly find rubbish and recycling terribly exciting, and I would not have predicted that just a few years ago. Now, let's have a look at the questions that we are addressing. What are the strategic priorities of the VLGA as far as I am concerned? What do I see as those priorities? To me, I think this is an incredibly important organisation because it represents the whole, potentially the whole of the council structure across Victoria. And we have perhaps not made the best of that over the last few years, and have seen ourselves perhaps as a second string player to the MAV. That's not where I see us, and that's not what I see us doing, and it's not where I see us going. And I think the most important issue that we've got to actually tackle as a group is how we wrest that position away from the MAV and actually set the VLGA as the prime representative body of the councils throughout Victoria. We are missing some councils, and we need to get them back on board and into our organisation, and that's one of the things that, quickly slipping into question 3, one of the things that I would like to be pushing very hard. How do we get the other people back on board, and how do we get to be in our rightful place? What have been the highlights of the work of the VLGA? What are the other things that I have become involved in? And this is not really a VLGA, solely a VLGA operation, but is the gambling, anti-gambling organisation that has sprung up, and which we meet quite regularly in here, to actually tackle the gambling problems that are throughout Victoria. To me, that has a personal resonance, because my father was a compulsive gambler. I didn't know that at the time. I discovered it, actually after he's died, when my mother told me about it. But I did recognise some of the issues associated with it, although I didn't realise that's what they were. So anti-gambling to me is one of the key issues, one of the key fights that we have got to actually carry forward, and just. I'm not against gambling completely, don't get me wrong. What I am against is the pressure that the gambling organisations put on individuals, and the pain and the suffering that they cause. So that's one of the real issues that I think is close to the VLGA's heart and also close to mine. What are the opportunities for the VLGA to ensure its success in the future? I've already touched on that. I think that the key issue is to get everybody back on board and back under our wing, and actually push forward and become absolutely the total representative body for the councils in Victoria. I think the opportunities we've got to liaise with the government are absolutely critical. I think we need to be stronger in terms of our representation to government, and I think we need to be somewhat more assertive in our representation to government. And that's one of the things that I would hope to be bringing to the party should I be elected. The accent is from the northwest of England, and we have a reputation for calling a spade, and sometimes even a bloody shovel. And I think that's one of the things that I think we should not shy away from. We need to be assertive in our demands for recognition and assistance from both central and state governments. So that's one of the things that I want to actually push very strongly for. What will I do personally as a director to advocate on behalf of the VLGA? Well, I think I've already touched that. So thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Lambros Tapinos. I'm a councillor at the City of Moreland, and I'm a current director at the VLGA and serve currently as its treasurer. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a councillor now for 11 years, and I've had the honour of representing the City of Moreland twice as mayor. So I feel that I have gained through that time significant experience and certainly addressed a lot of the challenges facing the local government sector. Challenges that I believe are faced right across Victoria, both not just in Melbourne, but also regional Victoria. So I certainly know the issues impacting local governments and some of the key areas that need to be addressed, including providing key services to our community, infrastructure for our growing communities, and also making sure that we do this in the rate-capped environments. And these are some of the key challenges for the sector going forward. For the VLGA in particular, there are a lot of strategic priorities. Firstly, we need to be the best organisation that we can, an organisation that represents the entire sector. Therefore, we need to always strive to increase our membership and aim for 100%. To do that, we need to ensure that we are providing support and training opportunities for councillors, and I feel that that is one of the major strengths of the organisation and a strategic objective. We also need to be able to represent the organisation and the sector to governments. A lot of council funding depends on governments, and a lot of the issues that we face are ultimately shared responsibilities with the state government. So we need to ensure that we are putting issues up for debate and we have a strong relationship with the state government to be able to have our voice heard and to represent you, our members, the councillors across Victoria. Some of the highlights that I'm very proud about, the VLGA is very known about, are our work in regards to diversity, supporting councillors, encouraging councillors from diverse backgrounds and more women to be involved in local government as candidates, but also once elected to support the work they do and also ensure that we are providing good governance support to the whole sector. I think that is our key objective. I think that is the key work that's been done by the VLGA from day one and the key work that needs to continue. I also chair the working group on gambling, and I'm very proud of the support that we provide councils to fight gambling applications, but also to run a broader campaign around problem gambling in our communities. I think these are just two pieces of work where the VLGA has excelled, but there are many more that we could do in the future. Having a look at our strategic objectives, I feel that the opportunities for the VLGA to secure its success is in the support it provides to you, the councillors. I want to ensure that our training is of high quality and accredited by organisations like the VLGA to ensure that the training that you get, you can have confidence that it is some of the best training going around in the sector. I think there are real opportunities to increase our capabilities as a training organisation. And there are also opportunities for the VLGA into the future to really develop policy on behalf of the sector, to bring together the best minds and the best advocates to work on policy development and to ensure that that development is taken to our members for consultation, but also to government to implement. Personally, as a director, I will advocate on behalf of the VLGA to increase its membership. And the best way to do that is to do it personally as a councillor with fellow councillors across local government in Victoria. So I commit to visiting as many councils as possible. I commit to always being available to share information about the VLGA and to listen to concerns that individual councillors have at their councils and across the whole sector. I believe that my networks, having served as a councillor for many years, are extensive across local government in Victoria, but not just local government, also in the state government as well. I have an ability to work with all levels of politics, and I have some great links into the state government that will be valuable as a director for the VLGA. Thank you.
My name is Mike Zafiropoulos and I'm a councillor at the City of Manningham. I have very strong connections with the VLGA because as Mayor and Councillor of Fitzroy at that time, I was involved in the establishment of the VLGA and had the privilege of serving in the inaugural committee during 95 and 96. Following my reconnection with local government due to work commitments and overseas trips and so on, I was unable to continue my local government involvement until recently when I got elected in Manningham. And as soon as I got elected, I wanted to reconnect with the VLGA, initially as delegate, and now I'm applying to I'm nominating to become a board member. I have been impressed with the way the VLGA has grown initially from a handful of councils to now 44, and if elected, I will endeavour to encourage through the work that and value that councils can get out of the VLGA for the remaining councils to become members. I'm also impressed with a number of achievements that have been made, particularly in relation to rural advocacy, gender equity, governance training, and the broad lobbying that the VLGA has done in relation to issues in the sector. The sort of priorities that I see include technology and innovation. As we all know, technology and innovation is advancing very rapidly globally and has embraced also local government. A number of Australian councils have undertaken a number of innovative practices, but both the costs involved and the risks made it very difficult for innovative service to spread wider. Only collectively we will be able to take full advantage of the benefits that innovation can bring us. I feel that the VLGA has a responsibility to make this a priority and encourage all councils seek funding for the sector, promote and spread best practice, and undertake the necessary research. Realising how important innovation is for my own council, last year I undertook my own research. I did some benchmarking both nationally and globally, and I was successful in convincing my council to establish an innovation committee. Other priorities for the VLGA include the monitoring of the new Act. The new Act is going to have significant impacts in the way local government practice is exercised in Victoria. And I think I'm absolutely certain that we will find areas where further reform may be required. The VLGA should play a key role in that respect. As a key body, the VLGA can play an important role also in educating the community about the role of local government. Unfortunately, local government is not appreciated fully or understood fully. A number of times my residents blame the council for things that are clearly outside our responsibility. And I think it's important that the VLGA utilises the media, social media and so on to ensure that more and more people understand the role that councils can play. I don't think I need to say very much. It would be an honour for me to rejoin the VLGA. I feel that I have a very extensive and diverse involvement. Diverse involvement in the community sector, and my professional career has taught me policy formulation, advocacy, and I hope that I will be able to use that experience to advance the objectives of the VLGA. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and welcome everyone to the Candidates Forum here, and I wish all my fellow colleagues all the best for this forum and this election. I'll go straight directly to the questions that were asked of us. What are the strategic priorities for the VLGA? I think we've got to look to the future about what councils are going to be facing in the very near future. And as you know, we're all doing our budgets right now, and they're looking very, very dim over the next 10 years with rate capping. Rate capping is going to have a severe impact on all of our councils. And it also leads me back to the next question. What are you going to do to ensure that the VLGA can help in this case? With rate capping, it needs a lot of attention, and I think they're one of the priorities and one of the strategic points that the VLGA should be focusing on, because that's where councils are going to be requiring a lot of help and a lot of work, and also councillors, because there is going to be a lot of financial talk and a lot of financial looking at what's going to be happening in the very near future. Some of the highlights that the VLGA have done over the past 2 years have been fantastic, and like my colleague Councillor Lambros, who's I'm also a director in the VLGA, we worked on more women in local government, and I'm very, very proud that Moonee Valley has a majority of female councillors at Moonee Valley, and we are one of the success stories about more women in local government, so I'm very, very proud of that. Also, as a professional board director, I was one of the driving forces on the VLGA to change the constitution. We had a constitution that was very, very outdated for this time of the year and this time and place, and it's now come to a new modernised version way, and we've become a lot more corporate and a lot more relevant to local government now, with the new directors having independent directors as well, having fresh eyes on the board. This is a great move forward, and I think with the constitution and the way the board is structured now in the near future, it's going to be a lot more helpful and a lot more strategic, and it'll be a lot better help to every single councillor in the area. What are the opportunities for the VLGA to ensure its success in the future? This is a point where it's very difficult to actually say what would be successful, but that all depends on how the board is elected, who's on the board, and then what the strategic purposes of what that board's going to put together. So hopefully with the candidates that get onto this board, they will have a great strategic thought pattern, and a nice balanced, nice diversity on the board would be fantastic. How would I, as a director, advance on behalf of the VLGA board to ensure increased membership and secure alternative forms of revenue? I wrote a paper for the VLGA scholarship about alternative sources of revenue. Not only did I look at what other councils in Victoria did, but what other councils in Australia and all over the world did. And I'm quite happy to share that paperwork with and share that paper, that report that I wrote with the VLGA, hoping to maybe some of these ideas might resonate through some of our other councils for alternative sources of revenue. We have a lot of councils who are going to be very, very hard done by, because they rely only on their rate base for their like especially the rurals where they have a low population and a high rate base. With capping, their infrastructure is going to deteriorate very, very fast. So over the next 10 years, this is going to be a burden, and I think we should be looking at how we can help councils with rate capping, cost shifting, and they're going to be one of the major issues. So I think the VLGA has got some good points that we can focus on, and I hope the new board does look into that direction. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for having this forum here today, and I'm very excited to be a current board member of the VLGA, Michelle Kleinert from the City of Manningham. This will be my final term, should I be re-elected, because to me, good governance should mean that you need refresh and renewal. Why did I decide to run that final term, which is this term, is because of the very hard work that I, with my fellow board members, undertook to update the Constitution, bless you, and bring VLGA into the 21st century. So there's a lot to cover here, and when we talk about the strategic priorities, we undertook a wonderful plan, which I'm very proud of, our strategic policy and our priorities, which are policy and advocacy, supporting local government, governance leadership, and having a healthy and sustainable organisation. And that goes right through to 2022. But of course, with the new board, we'll re-look at that and re-hone that and refocus that for the next 2 years. But that's the strategy that's been set, which really all the others that have spoken before, the candidates, have really fed into what we're already doing, which is very exciting. So what have been the highlights over the past 2 years? I think for me personally, was that constitutional change, was bringing 2 independent directors, which are very skilled. They are independent, because I am a big believer. I'm a non-political person, not a member of any political party. If VLGA is to succeed into the future, it needs to change from being perceived as a little political party, a little political agenda. And it's the elephant in the room. People are running for different reasons and having people encouraging others to run, and that's okay. But I think to myself, if we want to succeed, if we want to be seen as a serious organisation, of which the state government is now already seeing us as that, because we are sitting at the table with the state government, with the likes of the MABs and other peak bodies, we can't be seen to be of what it was originally set up to be, because of what was happening in the day of its inception. So also a highlight is the fact that, yes, the Go Women program, the leading agenda has been absolutely a fabulous program that has been undertaken with sponsorship, with engagement, with some great speakers, and the hard work of the staff to really focus on advocating and policy. Providing that leadership. One thing that VLG does very well, and I've had others testify, when they've called up to get advice, they've been able to get that advice freely, confidentially, and that is something so important. We don't perhaps spruik ourselves enough as the VLGA to say this is what we're doing. We're the quiet achiever that does actually so much with so little, and that's what I think is my role as now I feel that we're on this clean slate. I feel that a lot has been cleaned up, that in this next term, we can then really get about making the perception of what VLGA was, respecting that's what it was, but what is it today and where are we going to take it? But we need to allow the local government sector to understand, where are we today? What is the chapter of today, in order for the next chapter of tomorrow to be opened, for other councils to come on board and say, wow, this is something seriously that can help us in the constraints of rate capping, in the constraints where we need policy and advocacy advice, in the constraints where we need good guidance. So I'm not political. That's what I'll bring as a director to advocate on. I love the fact that the new body of board members, and I really sincerely hope that it is a diverse range. It's not chosen by political alliances. It's about the skill set. I like that once we have that board that comes on, that gets elected, that there's room for that one other independent director, to complete and fill the skills matrix, that will have a full professional board of people that love the sector, believe in the sector, want to help grow the sector and lead the way, and that's what the VLGA stands for. My role is to provide governance and oversight to ensure the strategy is implemented and meet our legal obligations and as an incorporated association. That's what's important to me. Thank you very much for listening. Good luck.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Cynthia Watson. I'm a councillor at the City of Burundara. In my journey to become nominated to the board of the VLGA, the first thing I did was I went out and I talked to the 36 councils who have turned their back on the organisation that says, we're not buying what you're selling. 29 of them are rurals and 7 of them are city municipalities. Now, this talking and listening with councils and their councillors would be a hallmark of my stewardship if elected to the VLGA board. So if you want to know how to grow the organisation, I have a list of why they left. And if I can sum them up, the reason they left was they didn't see a value proposition. They saw the MAV as the lesser of two evils. They saw a lack of focus on core issues and the things that they care about. And for rural councils, they said that the organisation is too metro-centric. So that really does form the framework for what needs to be done going forward. If I'm going to, in talking about core issues, and I did drill down on this with them to say, well, what do you mean by core issues? And core issues, again, to coming up with a definition that we all agreed on, was advocacy which will result in councils being better able to deliver services to residents and develop and maintain the vital infrastructure for their community. So it's pretty simple. To be a relevant organisation, you have to listen and talk with your members and understand what their needs are, and that forms the strategic framework for the priorities the VLGA should be advocating for on behalf of the sector. So if I was to talk about my strategic priorities, my plan to strengthen the VLGA would be to improve that value proposition by listening to the members, both rural and metro, and meeting their needs. Second, to find what the balance, the focus on core issues, the 80-20 rule. 80% of what you should be doing is what matters most to the members. 20%, yes, we needed a constitution and so on and so forth, but that's not your core business. Your core business is your members. I also believe that where performance is measured, performance improves. And I think we would get a better board if we establish accountability for board members by setting KPIs around issues such as finance and funding, sector advocacy, and our marketing and communications. So there are many opportunities for success in the future, but the success comes from bottom up, not top down. We need to increase our engagement with our rural councils. They are absolutely screaming out for help with their financial sustainability. That message came through loud and clear. They need to have a different funding model and not be relying on political welfare, which is the grant system which they operate on. We heard Councillor Sypek talk about rate capping and cost shifting. These are other issues that are forefront in councillors' minds because it is what they have to navigate to be able to deliver services and improve the infrastructure that their communities depend on. There are many opportunities for success if we talk to the membership. We are 1 second from midnight from disaster. When 45% of the membership, and we only have 79 councils that we draw upon, when 45% of your membership say we're not buying what you're selling, we need to take a good hard look. We need to talk to the members, develop a strategic vision around their needs, and then move forward. I support the VLGA and in the work that they have been doing. I do believe that improving the Constitution will lay the groundwork for where we go in the future. But as a board member, my focus and my pledge to those who are looking to vote is that I would be the board member that goes out and talks and listens and reflects the needs of their councils to the board members and builds a strategy based on their feedback. So thank you very much for listening, and hope that you consider my candidacy as a VLGA board member. Thank you very much.
For those who don't know me, I'm Councillor Colin Ross. Some people talk about being a tragic for organisations. I'm a VLGA tragic, like I am a waste tragic. I started coming to the VLGA initially 11 years ago because I was working full time, and the only opportunity I had to come to learn about local government was the VLGA. And that was because they ran most of their events in the evening. So you could actually go to work and come here. The MAV, on the other hand, ran most of their things during the day. So you really couldn't go there during your work time because it was just ineffective with your time. But what I have done is in the last 11 years, I've attended probably 95% of all the forums. I've been on the board once before. I've been to Warrnambool, where we ran a forum down there. I've been up to Ballarat, where we saw the Minister for Local Government up there as well. Also too, I've actually stood here I've sat there in the forum when we had Jeff Kent come in to talk about rate capping and his experience on it. I think that's a really good achievement of the organisation in the last few years, to connect back with all organisations. The MAV, as we know, a few years ago had a few problems, and the VLGA was, at the time, respected as a peak body. And I know whether it's government, opposition or government departments, they really highly respect the opinion coming out of here. And I know that through talking to some of them about our views and the forums that we run, it's really unique. We only run the forums that fill this space nobody else covers. So we're very unique and distinct. I've got a bit of a story that I think I'm a living story with our Cardinia Shire Council. We've taken on the family violence issue, and we had a Together We Can program which won a national award for local government, 28% reduction in family violence, and also to social housing, and that's something that I can bring forward too. That we networked with the VLGA with their information to have some social housing assets in our area that cost council relatively little. Also too, in your gaming space, we worked with the VLGA to have probably the highest victories in the court system in the last 10 years. For a lot of people who would give up in this space and say, we just give up and it'll cost us too much money and we won't win, we were the little train that could. We had a community that were very, very passionate about this area. We coupled up with the information that the VLGA had, and we spent not a whole lot of money on going to court. And we've now got some precedents that are set that all councils can benefit from, that you can actually get up and win if a development is not the right one that should go forward in your area. Also too, in rate capping, I've attended the subcommittee we had here on rate capping. I do believe the organisation needs to have a full committee on rate capping and the sustainability, and talk with our councils about areas we can advocate. I know in an interface council, our council's grown over the last 10 years. We've had 5 to 6 families a day moving in. Every day, we've got about 7 families a day moving in now. We've got 8% growth corridor. We've got 92% rural and green wedge. So we've got 850 kilometres of unsealed roads. These are some of the things that I know I can really relate to with regional councils. I believe too that I can sell this small spending story to people that you actually can do a lot with very little, but the VLGA will help you. I'm also very encouraged that a lot of new councillors that I talk to, and particularly myself early on, when you feel a little bit isolated on a council and a bit like a duck out of water, you could ring the VLGA at any time and you would get someone to talk to who would talk with you confidentially about how you could approach things, what you could do. And even one of the young councillors said to me, the reason he wanted to stay in the VLGA was because, when it came up a couple of years ago, was because they actually have a personal connection to you and you feel like they care about you and they'll help you. One thing I think that I can bring to the VLGA is I think I'm a living story of how the VLGA can benefit you. I think that one thing we need to do is go out to the non-members that we have and find out some common ground on things they don't know about us and how that we can actually interact with them and help them in their space, because obviously they don't know. Also with the member councils, we sometimes need to reconnect with them to find out, are they feeling distant, don't they feel included, and involved. So I think we need to talk with those as well. And I think too, I've built some really good relationships over a long term with a whole lot of people, and I think I'd like to use some of that currency to go out and talk with people to sort of put myself on the line and share this. So I'm really excited. I think the candidates are wonderful. I look forward to working with them, hopefully if I get the privilege of being on the board. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I think that I really need a very strong heart to be the last person to speak, and I'm very glad that I'm still here. And my name is Anna Chen. I'm a first-term councillor at the Manningham City Council and Deputy Mayor for this year. And I also represented the council in many external committees. And why I'm here is because the new constitution last year, and that gave every members a vote of member councils a vote to elect the members of the board, which I feel really excited. And I think that the priority, the 5-year strategic plan has already made it clear. You have 4 objectives, which I can't agree with you more. But I also think that the VLGA needs to set the tone and lead the conversation just rather than the usual conference forum. And I also believe that we need to promote collaboration among councils and to respond to the changing financial and social environments and to promote the service delivery. And I also believe the strategic priority needs to become, VLGA needs to become the voice, the credible voice in both state and federal governments to ensure all councils have the scale and resources to meet their existing and future needs. And what I think VLGA has done great in the past 3 years is one of the new constitution passed last year, and also in 2017, you have the 5-year strategic plan that is from 2018 to 2022, that I congratulate you to have that long-term strategic plan rather than the previous 2 years plan. And you really look at the future, not the immediate distance, so which I congratulate you for doing that. Also, the advocacy work you have done is great, and you provide review of local government, which I believe the government actually listen, and that includes the sexual harassment in the code of conduct, which is really great, and I congratulate you for all those good works. And also the gender equity to achieve 50% by the year 2020, which I'm one of the living example here, and hopefully I will represent Manningham in 2020. And in terms of the opportunity to success and why I can increase the membership for VLGA, I think that I can talk these 2 topics all together. Firstly, if I'm elected, I think that I hope that I can bring awareness in the community of the work of local government and to better engage with our community, because I often be in contact with our local residents. They ask me what the councillors do and what the councillors mean and what do we do for them, and that I really believe we need better engagement with our local residents. And secondly, we all know that VLGA only have 43 members out of 79, which is about 54%. And I think that we really need to improve improve our services to provide value for money to attract the rest of the council members to be our members. And thirdly, I really think that VLGA needs to find its core value and go back to the basic. If elected, I will try my very best to contact each council members and to listen to their concerns and priorities. Also, fourthly, is actually go back to the deep of my heart, is the influx of new migrants to our municipalities. And they are the challenges for councils to provide adequate services for our new residents. And if elected, I will advocate for much better resources and mutually agreed position to address issues that are arising from the cultural diversity. And Council needs to be treated as equal partners with state and federal governments. So once again, I hope that I can have your votes because I am independent. I have no political parties association, and I have no association with any community advocacy groups. So I have no baggage. Thank you.
Returning as a Wyndham councillor in 2016, I found much has changed since being a councillor from 1997 to 2008 in the 4 terms. Yet the autonomy and reputation of local government and support for councillors are still nowhere near as strong as they should be. As Mayor on 3 occasions and having lobbied on delegations for the Interface Councils Group, the Ministerial Mayoral Advisory Panel and the National Growth Areas Alliance, I have highly refined negotiation and advocacy skills. My long-standing commitment to the VLGA is evidenced by me being VLGA Vice President 2002 to 2006 and Treasurer from 1999 to 2002. My commitment continues today as I'm a member of the VLGA's Councillor Advisory Network. Local governments advocate for our communities and provide services in tight funding, policy and political environments. We must also protect our autonomy and argue for more infrastructure funding and support for councillors to do the important work we all do. I believe my skills and track record will help me contribute to meeting these challenges and needs as a team player on the VLGA board. If you'd like to know more about me or my candidacy, please call me on 0428 747 839 or email me at henry.barlow@wyndham.vic.gov.au.